Hi everyone, Salesforce Admin Training Day 9. Let's see today. We'll quickly go to the previous session overview and we'll talk about today relationships. What are the relationships that we have in the Salesforce? And we'll talk about the lookup relationship, use case, and lookup relationship, whatever the observations are there. So we will see what are the observations and what is the lookup dialog configuration, how can we do it, and also if time permits, we'll see the master detail relationship and what are the observations for the master detail relationship. And then we'll have a questions, interview questions. So what did we learn in last class? What did we learn in last class?
How to create the objects with the schema builder and object manager.
Right. So we have created the use case, position object, as well as the hiring manager object from the schema builder. Right, so today we will see the lookup relationship. So till yesterday, if I go to the object manager and if I go to the position, the position object, fields and relationship, click on the new. Now, so far what we have seen is except formula field and except this box, we have seen all the data types. Right, so we have seen all the data types, how to create it, what are the limits, how the data is stored into that, everything we have seen. Now, today we are going to start the relationship. Today, we are going to start the relationship. So what is the relationship in the Salesforce? Why do we need a relationship in the Salesforce? Why do we need a relationship in the Salesforce? Let's assume that if employee is joining the company, if employee is joining the company, what are the details that should I need to get it from the person? I should get the personal information of the candidate, employee, and which project he is working on it, or which department the person is joining. Which department and what is the project that the person is working on it, the employee is working on which project, one project or a multiple project. And also we need to capture the certifications. What are the certifications that employee is holding so far? What are the certifications holding in the right now he is holding on it. Now, also we need to get who is the person, the HR person who actually did everything from the beginning to the till the offer letter. There is a one person who will be taking care of everything. So I wanted to capture the HR details also. HR details also. Now, if I wanted to capture this all information, then in the UI, to show all the details. So all the details line by line, I have to show it, right? So it will be like if I have to show personal information, department, project, right? So project, certification, everything has to be shown into the same page. Now it is a too much of information. It is too much of information. That means, for example, I have the data here. Now this data is having the employee information. For example, I have a employee details, employee ID, employee name, right? Employee phone number and employee Aadhaar card, PAN number. Then we will get the department information. Which department person, who is the department manager, where is the location, everything. So first it will be having the employee ID, and then we'll have an employee name, and let's assume employee personal email ID, personal email ID, and probably get the PAN card or joining date. Let's get the joining date. Joining date. Whatever the joining date is there, we will try to get the joining date, and then we'll have a information. Now next I need to capture the department, which department the person is joining, and who is the manager for that department, who is the manager for that department, and that manager information, department manager details, and also we need to get since how long the person is working on, whoever is the department manager is there, how long he is working with the current company, and what is the position. So like this, I need to also store the department name, right? Department name, department manager, and how long this person is working currently in the as a manager, and also we can get the location, and since when this person is working with the company. Now, after that, again, I'll get the project information. Again, I'll get the project information. Now, in one table, assume that in the Excel sheet, I'm capturing all these information. Capturing all those information is too much of data in one table. So it has to be a specific to this a single information. Now, anytime when we are creating the table has to talk about certain information. Either it should talk about the employee information or department information. Now, if I create a table where everything I am putting into the single table, everything I'm placing into the single table. Now, for example, here employee ID is 001. Say Ajay. Ajay is the person who is joining today in the company. Who is joining is the in the company. Similarly, 002. Now we have Abdul is also joining the company today. Joining the company. Next, we have it like this. We will be keep on creating the new records. But assume that if I'm trying to give a information now, if I give the person to fill this form, suddenly there is an internet connection with problem. What will happen? There are a 500 fields are there in the single page. 500 fields are there. 500 fields. By the time they enter the 500 fields, it will be disconnected or it will be in network issue or something issue will be there. Right? Instead of putting everything into the single table, what Salesforce suggested, create a separate tables. Do not merge them. Now create a separately employee table, create separately department table. Create separately the department table. This is the employee table, and this is the department table. This is department table. Now this person is joining today. Now which department? There are multiple departments are there. Let's say sales. Let's say IT department. Right? In IT, so we have a sales department and we have a service department. Right? Marketing department. Like this, we have a different departments are there. Different departments are there. Now, for this also we need to create for each department, we need to have an ID. There is a one ID which is associated to it. There is a one ID which should be associated. This is the department ID. Department ID. Now, in this department ID, we will be storing the information. First record is always starts with whatever the ID is there. Automatically, the ID is created by the Salesforce. So here one ID is getting generated. For example, here it is generating the ID of, let's say, D001. and then D002. D002. And then we have a D003. And next we have a D004. Like this, we have a multiple records are there. We have multiple records are there. Now what we can do is these records. Here I have an employee, here I have a department. Now in single department, multiple employees can work on. Single department, multiple employees can work on. Now that means Salesforce asking us to create a different table to store the different information, to not combine the information. If you want to store the project details, store it in different table. If you want to store the certification, store it into the different table. Now use that table reference and link that tables. Now, how you are going to link it? Whenever you are going to link the tables, whenever you are going to link the tables, you need to identify two things. You need to identify two things. Now you need to, the step one is two steps which we have to follow. Whenever you wanted to build a relationship between the two tables, two steps we have to follow. First, identify the relationship. Identify the relationship between the object. Identify the relationship between the object. This is the first step. That means whether this without department employee can stay in the company or not. So department, if the person is joined, if it is not assigned the department to be that employee, can that employee survive without having a department, without associating a department? That means, is it a tightly bound relationship, or is it a, like if there is a no department is not associated to the employee also, that is fine. Now then you need to identify. You have to identify the relationship. Now in this relationship, we need to identify who is the parent object and who is the child object. Who is the parent object, who is the child object. How do you identify? Now, parent object is always a single record. Parent object is always a single record. Whereas child object is can have a multiple records. Child can have a multiple records. Child cannot be a single, can have a one child record or can have a more than one child record. For example, now we have a account object. Account is the parent object. Now within this account, we have a multiple contacts are there. We have multiple contacts. Like many contacts can be connected to the single account. This is a contact 1. Similarly, I have a contact 2. I have a contact 3. Like this, we have, that means single account is connected to the multiple contacts. Then in that case, account is the parent. Account is the parent and child is the contacts. Child object is a contact. Now similarly here in department. In single department, multiple employees can work on. Multiple employees can work on. Now within the single employee cannot be, multiple employees will be working to the single department. Multiple departments cannot be working to the single employee, right? It is a department. Inside the department, we'll have a multiple employees. Now, in this case, department is the parent, employee is the child. Employee is child. Now, which are the child object is there? Which are the child object is there? In that child object, we have to create a lookup relationship, or we have to create a relationship. In child object, now this is the child object here. This is employee is the child object, and department is parent object. Parent is the department object. Step 1 is identify which one is the parent, which one is the child. Now, step 2. Now we have identified which one is the parent and which one is the child. Step 2 is now map the relationship between the object. Build a relationship between the objects. Now, how you are going to build the relationship between the object? Now, in order to build that, you need to, in order to build the relationship between the two objects, we always have to create a relationship. We always have to create a relationship on child object. Child object. That means if you want to build a relationship between the two objects, if you want to build a relationship between the two objects, now I wanted to build a relationship between the employee and department. Now in that case, I know which one is the child. On the child object, we need to implement a relationship. We need to implement a relationship, and this relationship is going to connect to the parent. This relationship is connected to the parent. Now that means this is a department information. This is department information. Department information. Now in this department information, now we can connect. Now Ajay is, for example, working to the IT. Now in that case, here it is a D001. D001. Abdul is working for a marketing. Let's assume that working for a department marketing. Now in that case, we will take a D004. D004. Now let's say Akbar. Akbar is working for a service, or let's say Akbar is working for a sales. Akbar is working for a sales. Now in that case, we will take D002. D002. Now in this case, now we can know that, okay, Ajay is for IT department because here it says D001. Abdul is marketing department because it says it's the D004, right? It is matching with this. Akbar says it's a D sales because it is matching the D002. D002. So now, instead of creating the single table and putting everything into the single table, Salesforce suggests you to divide the work or divide the data because it will be clear and you need not to create it. So the main point why the relationship came into the picture is why they have introduced this to avoid redundancy, data redundancy. Data redundancy, that means duplicate records. That means duplicate records. So we should not be allowing the duplicate records. If you do not create a relationship. Now Ajay is also working for a IT, Abdul also working for a IT, Akbar is also working for a IT. In that case, how many times you will create a data? Will be repeating the data multiple times. Instead of repeating the data multiple times, create a separate table and divide the first declare the what are the departments are there. Possible that Ajay, Abdul, Akbar, 3 members are connected to the department IT. So we can simply, everybody can be connected to the D001. So we can avoid the duplication or a duplicate creation of record, which is called as a data redundancy. Data redundancy. And the second one is data inconsistency. Data inconsistency. When you create a multiple times, what will happen if you create a duplicate record? It is possible that there is a data is not appropriate. Data is not appropriate. So in that case, there is a possibility that we are missing the data or we are not entering the data correctly. So it will happen the data inconsistency, right? Data inconsistency might be happening. So that's to avoid these two things, Salesforce has introduced a relationship. Salesforce is introduced a relationship. Now, if I go to the relationship, now the relationships are to avoid data redundancy and data inconsistency. For example, I have a student table. I have a student table. Now, whenever the student is joining to the college, right, or university, now we need to capture the student information. Similarly, there will be a person who is the HOD is taking care of that particular student. Sometimes it is possible that HOD is will be kind of a mentoring the students or observing the students. So in the big universities, the 10 students will be allocated to the each HOD. So there is a HOD table. Now in this case, I have a student information stored into the student table and HOD information stored into the HOD. Now this HOD is the possible that single student can talk to the multiple HODs. Single student can talk to the multiple or a single student is talking to the each HOD. Now I have a two tables and in the two tables what we have done is we have created the 001. This is a CSC branch and HOD is this person. For B002 branch, ECE branch, there is a different HOD is there. Now student one, in this case, which one is the parent and which one is the child?
HOD table is
Which one is the parent and which one is the child?
HOD is the parent.
HOD is the parent. How can you say HOD is the parent? Why HOD is a parent? Students can be a single branch. Multiple student can be a single branch. Assume that S001 is for a branch B001. Similarly, we have another student. Robin is also for a B001. Student 2 is can be a B0 ECE branch and David also ECE branch. So there is a possibility that multiple students can be a part of single branch. Right? So CSE 20 members, ECE 30 members, EEE branch 10 members, IE, there are 10 members will be there. The possibility there for multiple students are pointing to the single branch. Now, in that case, we have a HOD is the parent and then student table is the child. Let's move now the relationship. Let's see the description of an object relationship in the Salesforce is a two-way association between the objects, between two objects. Relationships are created by creating the custom relationship field on the object. This is done. So that means relationship can be implemented by creating the fields on the object level. By creating the fields on the object level, we can implement the relationship. So while mapping the association between the two objects, we have to follow the two steps. Step 1, we need to identify who is the parent and who is the child. And the step 2 is once we have identified, then we have to build the relationship between the object and always build a relationship from the child to parent. Child to parent. Now we have to create an additional field in the child object by selecting the different relationship. We have a different relationship like a lookup relationship, external lookup relationship, master detail relationship, hierarchical relationship, and then self relationship. Self relationship. There is another one which is called as a self relationship. Take a notes of it. Okay. We will see all those. So, okay, so we have a this relationship. Right. It's a many to one. Yeah. Lookup relationship is one to many. It's not many to one to many. Yeah. So multiple child can be connected to the one parent. Yes, multiple, many to one. You taken the notes of it? Okay. So now let's see one by one. Now the next one is lookup relationship. Now let's see here. Now relationships are lookup relationship, external lookup relationship, master detail relationship, hierarchical relationship, and the next one is a self relationship. Self relationship. Now we will see the first one which is called as a lookup relationship. The first one which is called lookup relationship. In this lookup relationship is nothing but it's a loosely coupled. Loosely coupled is called as a lookup relationship. Now by using this feature, we can map the relationship between the two objects inside the organization. We can build the relationship between the two objects inside the organization, but it is loosely coupled. It's not mandatory that every time lookup relationship has to be there. It is not mandatory that every time the lookup relationship has to be there. It is loosely coupled. You can remove it and you can attach it. Now let's see the use case, one of the use case of it. Now configure the lookup relationship between the hiring manager and position object and list out all the observations. Now yesterday we have created two objects, hiring manager from the schema builder, position we have created from the object manager. Now whenever we wanted to implement a relationship between the two objects, now what is the step one? Step one is we need to identify who is the parent and who is the child object. Now we have two objects, hiring manager and the position. Now which one is the parent here? Which one is the child?
Hiring manager is parent and position is child.
Right. Hiring manager is a parent and then position is the child. And step two, once we have a clarity, we need to implement a lookup relationship on the child object. On the child object, we have to implement. Now, let's go ahead and see how to implement. Now, let's see what we have to do. we need to go to the position object, click on the PSR relationship link, and click on the new button to create a custom field. Select the data type as a lookup relationship. Right. Once you select the data type lookup relationship, click on the next button. Click on next button. Now then you need to enter who is the parent object. Right now we are in the position object. The parent object is hiring manager. We need to select the hiring manager, click on the next button. After that, it will ask you the field label, name, description, we have to provide it. Or do you wanted to make this field as a required? Then we have an option. If you wanted to make it as a required, then you can use the required. And then click on the next button and select the visible checkbox to make the field visible to the all the profiles. Do you want this field to be available for all the profiles or only few profiles? Based on that, you can select it and then click on the next button, click on save. Now let's go ahead and create the lookup relationship. Now we are in the position object and clicking on the lookup. Lookup relationship. Create a relationship that links this object to the another object. The relationship field allow user to click on the lookup icon to select the values from the pop-up list. The other object is the source of the values in the list. Now I'm selecting the lookup relationship and then click on the next button. Click on next button. Now here I need to select the parent object. I need to select the parent object. Parent object is hiring manager. Parent object is hiring manager. Now click on the next button, hiring manager. Now I'll keep it as hiring manager name and the child relationship is positions. Child relationship name is positions. Now this child relationship name is mostly used during the development. Mostly used during the development. Now we will see how it is used that child relationship names in the development. If you see here, the one thing which is this one. What to do if the lookup record is deleted? That means if I am deleting the parent record, if I am deleting the, assume that there are two positions are linked to the hiring manager. Position 1 and position 2, both are linked to the hiring manager. Both are linked to the hiring manager. In case if I am deleting the hiring manager, what should happen? If I delete this hiring manager, what should happen? Now create the values of the field, clear the values of the field. That means it is saying that by default it says that if you delete the parent record, remove the connection. Remove the connection. That means delete the value from that and delete the value from that. Delete the value as it is, remove the connection and then delete it. That is the first option. That is the first option. And the second option is if you have a connection here, second it says that do not allow to delete the lookup record. That's part of the lookup relationship. If there is a positions are linked to the hiring manager, do not allow if somebody is deleting the hiring manager record and if the hiring manager is already linked to the position 1 and position 2, then do not allow this record to delete it. Show the warning message to the admin that you cannot delete it because you have a position records are linked to it. There are two options are there. There are two options. First one is clear the values of the field in the child record. Second one is do not allow the deletion of the lookup record. Now, if you select a checkbox, of the required, automatically the second field option will go to the do not allow deletion. Now, if I check this, it is deactivated the clear the values and it says that do not allow to delete it. Because when I make it required, that means it is mandatory. It is mandatory. That means lookup the parent record has to be linked. Now, when you have a parent record has to be linked, that is a mandatory, then do not allow the records to delete. Do not allow the records to delete. Right now, I'm going with the by default option, clear the values of the field. Now, if you select this, the first one is disabled and only the second option will be available. If I uncheck, the first one will be enabled. Now I'm going by default, whatever the Salesforce is providing the default option, I'm taking the default option. Taking the default option. Now next one is auto add to custom report types. So by default, if I check, it will be displayed in the report types. It will be displayed in the report types. Click on the next button. Now here, this part we will see later. We will see this part later. Now, let me show you that. Now here click on the next button. Now, fourth step is field level security. Do you want to enable this field level security to the profile level? So if you want to be visible to the all the profiles or only few profiles, you can decide it. Click on the next and click on the next button, save. Right? Now, yesterday we have created the position and the hiring manager. Now the relationship is implemented. Now you see in the schema builder, it will show you in the schema builder the relationship has been implemented. Before it was a no relationship. Both are independent object. Both are independent object. There was no relationship between the both of them. Now if I open the schema builder for the hiring manager, this is the hiring manager, then I need a custom object which is a position. Now it says there is a relationship is linked. Single hiring manager, single parent record is connected to the multiple chain. Single parent is connected to the multiple chain. So this is lookup relationship. This blue color is lookup relationship. Now it is implemented. Now let's go to the position. Now the record, yesterday we have created the record. Right? If I open the record, here it says there is a hiring manager field is created. Hiring manager field is created. Now in this hiring manager, there is no data. There is no data at all because it's not mandatory right now. Right now, it is not mandatory. If you click on a save also, it will accept. Because right now we have created the lookup relationship without a mandatory. That means it is a loosely coupled. It's a loosely coupled. Now, if I create a hiring manager, there are 2 records we have created, Shivani and Manisha. Let's go ahead and create a few records. Let's take a copy of this. Open Shivani. And let me create a clone. I'm cloning this and creating a new record. Let's say Sushma. This is one record and I'll just change the contact number. Right. So everything is same. Hyderabad HR manager. Click on a save. And again I'm cloning it. And I'll create another record. Let's say illusion. Or let's say specialist and then Kochi. And contact number, let's say contact number. Let's click on save. Now we have these records. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of the hiring manager on the position. I'm going to select one of the hiring manager on the position. Now click on this link, position. Now click on this. Here we have a 4 records it is showing. 4 records it is showing here. Now, 4 records it is showing. Right? So 4 records it is showing here. You can select any one of them. You can select, let's say I'm selecting the Anusha, click on save. Now the Anusha is created. It is linked. Now you see that if you go to the Anusha record, let's go to the related list where it says positions is one record is linked. One record is linked. Now if I create another position, let's create another position. Let's say here Salesforce, let's put this. Say Salesforce admin. Right, Hyderabad and Pune, and all of the information is same. Let me take out this LWC, Apex, Visual Force, experience in admin. Right click on the save. And this is another record. Now if I click on refresh, Anusha is connected to the 2 positions record. 2 positions record. We have a 2 position. Now, if I delete this hiring manager, what will happen if I delete it? If I delete the hiring manager, what will happen? What is the
Clear the positions.
it will clear the position. So whatever the lookup field value is there, it will clear that. So what we have selected here, clear the values of the field. That means whatever the hiring manager name is there, that name will be cleared. Now click on this, delete. I'm deleting the hiring manager Anusha. If I delete the hiring manager Anusha, now my positions will not be deleted. Positions will be there. Positions will be there. It will not be deleted, but only the thing is that the hiring manager name will be blank. Hiring manager name will be blank. There won't be any value. There won't be any value. Now what I'll do is I'll click on the edit button, hiring manager. Now I'm going to select required. I'm going to select a required. That means do not allow the deletion of the lookup record that is part of the lookup relationship. That is part of the lookup relationship. Now click on the save button here. Click on save. Now this time it is mandatory. Now if I refresh this builder, that link will change from the blue color to the red color. Right, okay. It is blue color only, but it is mandatory, but not the red color. So it's a lookup relationship, but the thing is that it is hiring manager is mandatory. Wherever the line you see, that is a mandatory. That is a mandatory. If I try to edit this record, right now hiring manager is mandatory. Right now, hiring manager is mandatory. Right, there is a star mark which is available. Now, if I try to click on a save button, what will happen? It says that please review the record. It will not even allow you to save the record. It will not even allow you to save the record. So you have to select, if you have selected the required, you have to choose one hiring manager record. You have to choose one hiring manager record. For wherever it is not available, you have to choose one hiring manager. Click on save. Right, so now we have a positions are linked to the Sushma. Now, if I open the Sushma hiring manager, it is linked to the Salesforce developer admin. Now, if I try to delete it, what will happen? Are you sure you wanted to delete the hiring manager? I'll click on the delete button. When I click on the delete button, it says that you attempt to delete the Sushma hiring manager could not complete because it is associated with the following position: Salesforce developer and Salesforce admin. Salesforce, it is connected to the two child records. That means whenever it is connected to the two child record, system will not allow the record to delete it. It will not allow the record to delete it because we have selected here allow the deletion of the lookup relationship record. That is a part of the lookup relationship. That is part of the lookup relationship. Right? So lookup relationship provides one-to-many association. That means one hiring manager, one parent is connected to the multiple child. One parent is connected to the multiple child. That is the first observation. That is first observation. Lookup relationship provides one-to-many association by default. That means each parent record can be associated with one or a more child records. Now, the second observation is the lookup relationship always has to be on the child object. Lookup relationship always should be created or always should have the child record. It should have on the child record. That is the second observation. Lookup relationship can be applicable on the child object which is already having the records, which is already having the records. If you create it, now if you say here not required, if you say not required, that means while creating the child record, lookup field is optional. Now if I specify this required is unchecked, I'll check the required field. I'll check this required field. Right now I'll click on save. I'll click on save. Now that means whenever I'm creating the record, child record, lookup field is an optional. That means child record might have a hiring manager linked or might not have a hiring manager is linked. Whenever it is not required, it's not necessary that every child record should be associated to the parent record. It may not be mandatory. So that is the third observation. Now, the fourth observation is, for example, if I am deleting the record. If I am deleting the record, now this is a by mistakenly we have created Sushma record. By mistakenly we have created the Sushma record. Now in case in the real time, if I wanted to delete this kind of a scenario, system is not allowing it, but still I wanted to delete it. Still developer want to delete it. What is the alternate ways to delete this kind of a scenario? The alternate way is whatever this child records are there, whatever these child records are there, this record associated to the link to the different hiring manager, link to the different hiring manager. That is one option. That means reparenting. Reparenting. Right now, this has a parenting of. Now, if I go to the Salesforce developer, it has a parent record as a Sushma. Now, if you want to delete a Sushma, so you need to do the reparenting. I need to update to the Shivani. Similarly, I'll go to the another record, Salesforce admin, and I'll reparent. I'll do the reparent, click on save. Now I'm going to delete this record. When I click on the delete, it is going to delete it. Because we did a reparenting. We did reparenting. The alternate solution is a reparenting. Now if I go to the Shivani in the related list, we have two positions open. Two positions are open. So one way of deletion is lookup relationship provides a reparenting option by default. It will provide reparenting option by default. So that means child records can be reparented to any other parent, feature. Now the fifth point is while removing the parent record, only the parent record will get removed. Child record will be still existed. That's what we have seen. Whenever we are deleting the parent record, it only deletes the parent record. It will not delete the child record. Delete the child records. Child records will exist as it is, but in child record, the lookup field will be get cleared. The value get cleared if it is not mandatory. If it is not mandatory field, then it gets cleared. Take a notes of it. Okay. Now, few more observation. The next one is, let's say, now we have made the required checkbox, right? So we can make the lookup field required by selecting the required checkbox. Either while creating or editing, the field is mandatory. Field is mandatory. Now, if you do not enter the field, it will not allow you to save the report. It will not allow you to save the report. That's the sixth point. Now, in case lookup field is mandatory, if it is a required field, then it is if the user is tries to delete the parent record, what will happen? It will not allow. It will not, system will not allow to delete the record, which is a seventh point. Whenever it is not allowing to delete the parent record, there are two solutions are there. Either you remove the relationship between the child to parent. That means delete the hiring manager. Delete the hiring manager. Whatever the hiring manager field is there, delete that hiring manager field from here. That is the first step. That is the first solution. Solution one is, that is the one. And solution two is reparenting. You do the reparenting. If you do the reparenting, then you can remove the parent record. Now, for example, right now, I have a position object. Here it is a position object. This is position object, which is a custom position object. Now, this position object is right now implemented a relationship between we have implemented the relationship between the hiring manager and lookup relationship. That means I already have a lookup relationship is implemented between the hiring manager and lookup relationship. We have created the field called lookup relationship. Now this lookup relationship is already having implemented the relationship between these two objects. Now let's assume that there is another object. there is another object. Now, let's assume this object is projects. This object is projects. Now, this position for which project or department? This position is for which project or which department? Now, I need to have a relation between these two. That means I have to implement again one more lookup relationship on the position object. One more relationship on the position object, which is a L2. Now, which will be connected to the position, which will be connected to the. This is lookup relationship 2. And this will be connected to the project. Now, similarly, I have one more project. Let's assume that client. Let's assume client. Now, for this client also, we need to link. We need to link the position. I need to link the position for client also. That means in the position object, I need to create another lookup relationship. I need to create another lookup relationship, which is connected from the position to the, which is connected from position to the, which is connected from position to the line. Like this, on the position object, I can create a multiple lookup relationship. But is there a limit how many lookup relationship that I can create? Maximum lookup relationship in the single object is 40. 40 lookup relationship you can create it for the single object. That means child record can be associated to the 40 parent record, 40 parent objects, 40 parent objects. So the eighth observation is we can have a maximum of 40 lookup relationship fields per object. That is, a child record can be associated to the maximum of 40 parent records, 40 parent records, 40 parent objects. Take a notes of it. Done. Now, whenever we are creating the relationship, whenever we are implementing the relationship between the two objects. Now, Salesforce has a something concept called security. Concept called security. That means if I'm creating the object in the Salesforce, That means Salesforce is building the security for that object first. Because whenever we are creating an object and fields, Salesforce, along with the creating the objects, fields, page layout, business logic, it also implement the security. What kind of a security should I need to provide it to this object? What kind of security should I need to provide it to this object? Now, every object will have their own security settings or security settings or a sharing settings. Sharing settings. Now, if I link this to, that means if I build a relationship between the two objects, is that mean whatever the sharing setting is available for the position object, all the sharing settings will be shared with the sharing hiring manager and those. Whatever the sharing settings and security settings are available for the position object, if I implement a relationship between the hiring manager and position object, hiring manager security or sharing settings, all the sharing settings will be implemented or will be inherited to the object, or this sharing settings will be inherited to this, or whatever the sharing settings are, that position will be linked to, will be shared with another object, or whatever the hiring manager report object sharing settings are there. Now those parent object sharing settings will be shared with the child object sharing settings. No, it won't be shared. Though there is a relationship, you have implemented a relationship between the two objects. But lookup relationship does not share the security. Lookup relationship does not share the relationship. It only makes the linking between the two objects. It only implements the linking between the two objects, but it does not share the security settings, sharing settings, or the child record to the parent, or parent record, sharing settings, child record. It doesn't. After implementing the lookup relationship also, whatever the sharing settings are there with the parent, only with the parent. Whatever the sharing settings are there with the position object, only with the position object. That means independent sharing settings. Sharing settings does not share it. Now I have created this. Now if I go here, how can you see the sharing settings? If you go to the position, settings, setup, and click on here, you have an option called sharing settings. Sharing settings. When you go to the sharing settings, for lookup relationship does not say that controlled by parent. It does not say controlled by parent. It is having their own sharing settings. Now hiring manager, it says public read write, position public read write. If it is a shared, if the security is shared, then it will say that controlled by parent. Then it will say controlled by parent. That means whoever is the parent is there, that parent sharing settings are shared with the child. But look up, if you implement a relationship between the two objects, the sharing settings will not be shared. Both will be having their own independent sharing settings. Their own independent sharing settings. If I change anything on the hiring manager, it will not reflect on the position, right? Both are different. Both are different. Now that is another concept. That is another observation is, now we have a sharing settings and security settings of the child record is purely independent of the parent record. It does not share with the child. It does not share with the child. That's the one observation. And another observation is, now whenever we are creating the fields, now there is a something called roll-up summary field. Roll-up summary field. We cannot create a roll-up summary field for the lookup relationship. If you have a relationship and if that relationship is a lookup relationship, we cannot create a roll-up summary. We cannot summary field cannot be applicable on the lookup relationship object. On the lookup relationship object. Cannot be applicable on the lookup relationship. If I wanted to implement a lookup relationship, now we have a custom object and standard object. We have a custom object and standard object, right? Whether it is a child is a custom object or whether it is a standard object. Now that means assume that here I have a child object. Assume that I have a child object. This is child object. And on top also child object. Other scenario is this is a child object and this is a standard object. Not child. Now this is a child and this is a child object and this is standard object. Parent object. Now on top I have a parent object, on bottom I have a child object. Right, this is the parent object. Child object. This is the child object. Now let's take a scenario. Now child object could be a custom object. Parent object could be a custom object. That means here I have a custom object position. And here I have a custom object hiring manager. When we have a custom object, parent is a custom object, child is a custom object. In that case, can we implement a lookup relationship? Yes, we can implement a lookup relationship. If the custom object is, if the child object is a custom and the parent object is also custom object, then we can implement a lookup relationship. Now let's assume that child object is a custom object. Child object is custom object. Custom object and the parent object is a standard object, like a, let's say, standard object. Here, custom object is, let's say, position. And standard object is, let's say, account. Account is a Salesforce object, standard object. Now, when I have a child as a custom object and parent as a standard object, in that case, can I implement a lookup relationship between these two? We can implement the relationship between these two. If I have a child object as a custom object, parent object is also a parent object is standard object. In that case, I can implement. Let's assume that I have a child object is a standard object. I have a child object is a standard object. And Parent object is a custom. Parent object is a custom object. That means here the standard object is, let's assume this is the account. This is account. Custom object is, let's say this is a position object. Position object. Underscore C. This is the custom object. Now when we have a child as a standard object and parent is a custom object, can I implement a relationship between these two? Lookup relationship? Yes, we can implement a lookup relationship between these two. We can implement a relationship between these two. Now let's assume that child object is a standard object. Child object is standard object and parent object is also a standard object. Parent object is also standard object. Now here child object is an account, right? And the standard object is, let's say, contact. Has to be other way. Now here it is a contact object, standard object is contact object. Now here it is, standard object is account. Now can I implement a relationship between the standard to standard lookup relationship? Can I? Yes, we can implement. Can implement a lookup relationship. Lookup relationship can be implemented whether you have a child object as a custom object or a standard object. And the parent object is whether it is a custom object or a standard object, you can implement a lookup relationship. But whereas master detail relationship, if it is a child object is a custom object and parent object is also custom object, then we can implement a master detail relationship. Now, if the child object is a custom object and the parent is a standard object, can I implement a master detail relationship? Yes, we can implement a master detail relationship. Now the next scenario is child object is a standard object. Child object is standard object and the parent is custom object. Can I implement a master detail relationship from the standard object to the custom object? No, we cannot implement. Similarly, I have a standard object as a child object, standard object as a parent object. We cannot create a master detail relationship. If you have a standard object into the child object, then we cannot create a master detail relationship. If it is a lookup relationship, you can create it. So lookup relationship, standard object can be a child object. That means if you have a child object as a standard object, we can make the standard object as a child with our custom object as a parent. We can implement it. Taking notes of it. Okay. Now let's go ahead. Now that's all about the lookup relationship observation. Total 11 points. We have Total level 11. Any questions so far? Anusha, are you clear on that? Where the mismatch, the parent and child.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next one we will see the lookup dialog configuration. Lookup dialog. What is this lookup dialog? For which one we call it as a lookup dialog? Now, if I go to the object, now if I click on this, now here you have a one option is visible, right? This is called as a lookup dialog. This is called lookup dialog. Now, mostly lookup dialogs are required in the class. Required in class. Now, if I go switch to the classic, switch to the classic. Now, let's say this is the hiring manager. Let's go to the position. In the position, now here you see, this is called lookup dialog. This option, whatever the banner block or a search button is there. This is called lookup dialog dialog. Now, if I wanted to configure this, that means if I click on this report, if I click on that report, now it is giving me what are the hiring manager names are there. What are the hiring managers? Now that means when lookup dialog is mostly it is available whenever we are creating the child report. While creating the child report, we have to select the parent record by selecting the lookup field, by clicking on the lookup field. That is called as a lookup dialog. In the classic, we can see the lookup dialog. Now, whatever this dialog is, this is open, right? So this is called as a lookup dialog window. Lookup dialog window. So whenever you click on the lookup icon, it will represent the lookup dialog, which populates the parent records from the tabular format. It is populating the records from the tabular format. Now, this is the tabular format. That means right now it is showing me only the hiring manager. But here it is like this is one column and this is another column and this is another column. Like this you can divide. This is basically a table which has a single column right now, which has a single column. Now we'll see how to make it as a multiple columns. But when you click on the lookup icon on the report, now it will open up the lookup dialog. In the classic, this is mostly in the classic, which will populate the parent record from parent record, it will populate in the tabular format. That means by default, lookup dialog can represent the maximum of 200 record details. Right now, it is showing only 2 records because we have only 2 records in the hiring manager. But maximum it can display up to 200 records. Maximum it can display up to 200 records in the lookup dialog. In case if you have a more than 200 records in the object or in the hiring manager, in that case, you need to search which are the one you are looking for it. You have to search here so that you will be able to get the result. That means lookup dialog will be represent the parent record name by default. By default, it is only with the one column, and by default, it is going to show the whatever the object name is there. Object name. That means parent record name. Whatever the name is there, parent record name. In this case, our parent object is hiring manager and name is the name field. And we can also customize the lookup dialog in case if I wanted to show more columns on the table, we can do that. But by default, only it can show the record name and the second line information in the lightning. Now that I'll show you that. So basically, this is lookup dialog is more of a classic. In the classic, whether you want a 4 columns, 5 columns, 3 columns, you can do the multiple columns you can display on the lookup dialog. But in the lightning, it is not possible to show. Because in the lightning, what will happen when you click on this by the lookup icon, you click on this, lookup icon. So here you have a lookup icon. Right, there is a lookup icon will be available here. Now, when you click on this lookup icon, there is a drop down, it will display. In the drop down, it will just show the one report, one field name. Maximum it can show two fields. Maximum it can show two fields. Right? So in the lightning maximum it can show two fields. But whereas in the classic, you can divide how many columns you want. This is one column, another column you can divide it. If you want to show three fields, you can show the three fields. If you want to show the four columns, you can show the four columns. Five columns, if you wanted to show, you can show the five columns. But lightning, it is restricted. Maximum, it can show only two fields information. Only two fields information. Take a notes of it. In case if I wanted to modify the configuration of the lookup table, in case I wanted to modify the configuration of this. Now I wanted to display the location, I wanted to display what are the different fields are there, I wanted to show the values. So in case if I wanted to modify the lookup dialog configuration, we have to go to the parent object. We have to go to the parent object tab. That means here the parent object is hiring manager. In the parent object, click on tools and relationship. Go to the search layout section. Search layout section. And in that search layout, we have to add an edit link related fields. This is in the classic. Okay, these are the classic configuration navigation steps. Now in the classic, click on the setup. Click on setup and go to the your hiring manager. That means go to the custom object. Custom object. Objects. In the classic, it is just an object. The objects and then go to the hiring manager. In the hiring manager, now here you have a search layer. There is a option called search layouts. This is the search layouts. In this search layouts, you need to modify the search layout. Now here you have a lookup dialog. Lookup dialog hiring manager name. Now in case if you wanted to modify, click on this edit, and along with the hiring manager name, I wanted to know the designation, and also I wanted to know the location. Should be in the second place, and then we have a designation. So in case if you want like contact number, let's assume I also want the contact number. It has to be in the second place. You can't say. Now we have, let's go to the in the position. Now let's click on delete this, click on the lookup dialog. Now here it is displaying the information, hiring manager name, contact number, location, designation. What are the navigation steps? Navigation steps are, we need to go to the parent object. In the parent object, click on the object, and there is a option called search layout section. In the search layout section, you have a lookup dialog. In this lookup dialog, click edit button, update this. What are the fields that you want to display? So those are the fields that gets displayed here. Those are the fields that are displayed in the lookup dialog. In the lightning, let's go to the switch to the lightning. On this, now I have only one edition. In the lightning, how we will change it? In the lightning, let's go to the edit object, go to the object manager, open that particular object. Now here you have it, search layouts. There is an option called search layouts. Now search layouts are profile wise. In the lightning, it is a profile wise. Now if you want system admin, now I want the system admin to be modified. Now here we have a system administrator. Now I'll click on the system admin, click on the edit button. Let's say along with the position name. Now I'm into the position. I need to go to the parent object. Hiring manager. In the hiring manager, go to the search layout. Now let's go to the system admin. This is the system admin. Click on the edit button. Hiring manager, then I'm going to choose the, let's say current CTC, I'm going to choose. Click on save. Now lightning going to take some time in order to display. And one more thing, lightning will not display all the values. In the second, you cannot select all the values. Now it is displaying the Shivani and the currency. Shivani and currency. That is a search layout, right? This is a search layout. Now, for example, if I modified, let's go to the system administrator, click on this edit button. Now, if I select a designation, designation is the second, and the third one is current CTC. Click on save. I have a three fields, it should be display designation and current CTC. Let's refresh. Reload. Here it is showing the currency. Now, some fields it will not show, few fields it will not show. For example, as that is CTC. Designation will not show. Designation pick list fields does not show. Pick list fields does not show as a second information. Only second information will be a number or a text. Second information in the lightning, either number or a text. It will not display the pick list fields. It will not display the pick list fields. See designation, it is not displayed. Or a text field, it will display. Either number or a text field. So that is in the lightning. In the lightning, either it will take the number or a text field. Now email address also allow. It will not take. Now we gonna say website. It has not taken. Right click inspect. So only the number and text it will take it. It is not in the email. So that's about the lightning lookup dialog in the lightning in the class. In the lightning as well as in the class. Now we will see the rest of the things tomorrow. Now take a notes of the assignment 1. Configure the lookup relationship between the course and student object and list out all the observation. Yesterday I have informed you guys I gave the assignment to create a course and create a student object previously. Now right now implement the relationship between the course and student object. If you do not have an object, create the objects. Take a notes of it. Next assignment is configure the lookup relationship between the project and team member object. List out all the observations. Project and the team member. You need to create a project object and you need to create a team member object and then build the relationship between the project and team member. List out the observation. Class. And the third assignment is configure the lookup relationship between the student and the object and list out all the observation. List out all the observation. Perfect. Interview question. What is relationship in Salesforce? What is relationship in the Salesforce? What are the different type of Salesforce relationships? What are the different types of Salesforce relationships? When we delete the parent record, what will happen to the child record? You have to specify the multiple scenarios here. In first scenario, in the second scenario, 2 scenarios you have to specify. When we delete the parent record, what will happen to the child record? How many lookup relationship can be created per object? How many lookup relationship can be created per object? Can parent object security settings apply to the child object settings? Can parent object security settings apply to the child objects? If I need to adjust the lookup dialog, which object should we go, parent or child? If I need to adjust lookup dialog, which object should we go for, parent or child? In Lightning, maximum how many lines can be displayed while searching the lookup field? Lightning, what is the how many lines can be displayed? Question. What are the lookup relationship observations? What are the lookup relationship observation? What will happen if we enable required checkbox on the lookup? On the lookup field. What are the different solutions to delete the parent record if lookup relationship field is mandatory? What are the different solutions to delete parent record if lookup relationship field is mandatory? Can the roll-up summary field created on the lookup field? Can admin implement a lookup relationship when the child object is standard object and parent object is a custom object? Can admin implement a lookup relationship when child object is a standard object and the parent object is a custom object? If you want to modify the lookup, now that's all. That's all for today, and I'm going to ping you the trial head link.